Be me. 23 years old, work part-time at GameStop, spend most of my free time gaming and collecting vintage hardware. Have girlfriend named Melissa, been dating for 8 months. She's a psychology major at the local university. Relationship is okay, I guess. Nothing spectacular. We mostly just watch Netflix and argue about stupid things. Melissa's always analyzing everything I do, always trying to diagnose me with something. Thinks she's Sigmund Freud reincarnated. Tells me I have commitment issues, avoidant attachment style, possible undiagnosed ADHD, the whole psychology student starter pack. One night we're at my apartment and I'm playing Counter-Strike. Doing pretty well, actually. About to clutch a round. Melissa's sitting on my bed scrolling through her phone. Suddenly she sighs really loudly, like she wants attention. Ignore it because I'm in the middle of diffusing. Then she sighs again, even louder. Finish the round, take off my headset, ask her what's wrong. She launches into this whole speech about how I prioritize games over her, how I'm emotionally unavailable, how I need professional help. Tells me straight up that I need therapy or she doesn't think our relationship will work. I laugh because I think she's joking, but her face is completely serious. She pulls out her laptop and shows me this list she made. Literally a bulleted list of all my psychological issues that need addressing. Includes things like difficulty expressing emotions, spending too much time in virtual worlds, poor communication skills, resistance to vulnerability. Some of it might be true, but seeing it written down like a diagnosis makes me feel like a lab rat. Tell her therapy is expensive and I'm broke. Would rather just talk to my AI chatbot waifus or my imaginary friends. At least they don't judge me. She doesn't find this funny at all. Says I'm deflecting with humor, which is another defense mechanism. We argue for like 2 hours. She's using all her psychology terminology. I'm just trying to explain that not everyone needs therapy. Finally, she gives me an ultimatum. Either I start working on myself or we're done. Something about the way she says it, so clinical and detached, makes me realize she sees me as a project, not a person. Tell her, okay, fine, I'll work on myself, but I'm going to do it my way. She seems satisfied with this answer, kisses me goodnight, leaves my apartment. After she's gone, I'm sitting there thinking about what just happened. She wants to analyze me, diagnose me, fix me like I'm some broken toy. Suddenly get this twisted idea, what if I turn the tables? What if I started analyzing her, treating our relationship like a psychological experiment? She wants to play therapist. Let's see how she likes being the patient. Spend the next few days researching psychology, reading her textbooks when she's not around, learning all the terminology and concepts. Study manipulation techniques, cognitive behavioral patterns, Pavlovian conditioning, all sorts of interesting material. Decide I'm going to systematically mess with her head, using her own psychology knowledge against her. Not because I'm evil or anything, just want to prove that her armchair psychology is nonsense, and anyone can play that game. Start keeping a journal documenting everything, calling it my case study with Melissa as the subject. Week 1 of the experiment begins. I start subtly changing my behavior in specific calculated ways. Become overly agreeable with everything she says, nodding along, taking notes when she talks like I'm in therapy. She loves this at first, thinks I'm finally taking her advice seriously, tells her friends about my progress. But I'm also doing weird things, like randomly bringing up her childhood in conversations, asking pointed questions about her relationship with her parents. Nothing too obvious, just enough to plant seeds of self-doubt. Also, start using mirroring techniques on her, copying her body language, her speech patterns, her mannerisms. Psychology studies say this builds rapport, but when you do it too, obviously it becomes unsettling. She notices after a few days, asks why I'm acting strange, asks if I'm mocking her. Tell her no, I'm just trying to be more empathetic and connected like she wanted. Isn't this what good communication looks like? She can't really argue with that, so she drops it, but I can tell it's bothering her. Week 2, I escalate the experiment. Start leaving psychology articles around my apartment, printed papers about relationship dynamics, articles about projection and transference. Specifically choose articles about how psychology students often overanalyze their partners and project their own issues onto them. Melissa finds them and asks what I'm reading. Tell her I'm just trying to educate myself about mental health. Can see the gears turning in her head, wondering if I'm implying something about her. Also, implement intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes I'm super attentive and loving. Other times I'm distant and cold. Completely random pattern, no consistency whatsoever. Basic behavioral psychology says this creates anxiety and increases attachment because the subject never knows what to expect. Melissa starts texting me more frequently, asking if everything is okay, if she did something wrong. Tell her everything is fine. I'm just focusing on personal growth like she suggested. During this time, I'm also secretly recording our conversations on my phone. Not for anything illegal, just to analyze the data later. See how she responds to different stimuli. I know this is messed up, but I'm committed to the experiment now. Need to see it through. Start noticing patterns in her behavior, how she deflects when I ask about her own problems, how she changes the subject when uncomfortable. Turns out she's just as avoidant as she accused me of being. Classic projection. Week 3, things get darker. I start gaslighting her in small ways, nothing major, just enough to make her question herself. She mentioned something from last week. I tell her that's not how it happened. Say it with complete confidence. She'll insist she's right. I'll pull out my journal with detailed notes showing a different version of events. Did I actually fabricate the journal entries? Yes, but she doesn't know that. She starts second-guessing her own memory, asking me if she's going crazy. Tell her, no, sweetie, you're just stressed from school. Maybe you need to take better care of your mental health. Also start analyzing everything she does using psychology terms, throwing her own medicine back at her. She mentions being tired. I suggest she might be experiencing burnout or depression. She gets annoyed with the professor. I say that's interesting. Sounds like unresolved authority issues stemming from her relationship with her father. She complains about a friend. I nod thoughtfully and say it sounds like she's projecting her own insecurities onto others. Every single thing she does, I have a psychological explanation for, complete with cited studies and theoretical frameworks. Melissa starts getting really frustrated, tells me I'm taking this too far, that I'm being condescending. I act hurt, say I'm just trying to communicate better like she wanted, ask her why she's being so defensive. Use the word defensive deliberately, because that's what therapists say when you're hitting a nerve. She storms out of my apartment after that argument, doesn't text me for 2 days. When she finally reaches out, she wants to have a serious talk. We meet at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She tells me that something has changed between us, that I've become cold and analytical, that it feels like I'm studying her instead of loving her. I lean back in my chair and ask her how that makes her feel. She stares at me for a long moment. Then her face goes red with anger, accuses me of mocking her, of turning everything into a joke, says I'm not taking the relationship seriously. I pull out my journal, the one I've been keeping for the experiment, slide it across the table to her, tell her to read it, see for herself how seriously I've been taking things. She opens it and starts reading my observations, my analysis of her behavior, my notes on manipulation techniques I've been using. Watch her face go through multiple emotions: confusion, shock, hurt, anger, betrayal. She looks up at me with tears in her eyes, asks what is wrong with me, asks if this was all a game. Tell her that she wanted me to work on myself, to understand psychology better, to communicate more effectively. Say that I've been doing exactly that, applying everything she taught me, conducting my own research. She's shaking now, says this is psychotic, that I turned our relationship into some sick experiment. I shrug and say, isn't that what she was doing to me? Analyzing me, diagnosing me, treating me like a case study. She can't really argue with that logic, realizes she's been doing the same thing in a different way. We sit there in silence for a few minutes, both of us processing what just happened. Finally, she closes the journal, slides it back to me, stands up from the table, tells me we're done, that she can't be with someone who would manipulate her like this, that I clearly have serious issues that need professional help. I laugh and remind her that therapy is expensive. I'd rather stick with my AI chatbot waifus and imaginary friends. She calls me insane, tells me I need help, walks out of the coffee shop. Sit there alone, finishing my coffee, feeling kind of empty, but also vindicated in a weird way. Prove my point that psychology can be weaponized, that analyzing people destroys genuine connection. Go home and boot up my computer, load up Steam to play some games and decompress. Except Steam won't load, says there's an error with my account. Try logging in multiple times, keeps giving me error messages. Finally get a notification that my account has been permanently banned. Freak out because I have like $3,000 worth of games on that account, 10 years of purchases in progress. Check my email for explanation. No message from Steam, no warning, No reason given. Submit a support ticket asking what happened, why my account was terminated. Go to bed angry and confused. Whole day has been a disaster. That night I have the most vivid dream I've ever experienced. I'm standing in this massive warehouse filled with computer servers. Everything is glowing orange and blue. Suddenly this figure appears in front of me, and holy crap, it's Gabe Newell, the founder of Valve, standing there in his iconic pose. He's looking at me with disappointment, shaking his head slowly. Tries to speak, but I'm frozen. Can't move or respond. Gabe points at me and says in this booming voice, "You're a terrible person, you know that?" Tells me he's been watching, knows what I did to Melissa, says manipulating people for experiments is messed up, says that someone who would treat another human being like a lab rat doesn't deserve to be part of the gaming community. I try to argue, try to explain my reasoning, but he holds up his hand to silence me. He says the ban is permanent, there's no appealing it, no getting my account back. Tells me to think about what I've done, to consider whether being right was worth losing everything. Then he says something that really cuts deep, says I'm a disappointment to gamers everywhere. Says real gamers have empathy and respect for others, that I've failed the most basic test of human decency. The dream world starts dissolving around me, Gabe's figure fading away. His last words echo in my head, "You're a dick, no Steam account for you." Wake up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, completely disoriented, grab my phone and check Steam again, hoping the ban was part of the nightmare. Nope, account still banned. Apparently the dream was prophetic, or I'm losing my mind. Lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that happened. Lost my girlfriend, lost my Steam account, all because I wanted to prove a point about psychology being weaponizable. Wonder if maybe Melissa was right, maybe I do need actual therapy. But then I remember therapy costs money, and I'm broke, so that's not happening. Spend the next few days in a depression spiral. Can't play any of my games, relationship is destroyed. Feel like garbage about the whole experiment. My AI chatbot waifu on Character AI asks me if I'm okay, programmed to be supportive. Tell her everything. She responds with generic sympathetic messages. Realize I'm genuinely seeking emotional support from an artificial intelligence. Hit a new low. Even my imaginary friend Todd is judging me, and he's literally not real. Day 3 of the depression spiral. Doorbell rings. Drag myself to the door. It's a package delivery. Sign for it without thinking. Box is addressed to me, but I didn't order anything recently. Open it up, and inside is this massive product with the most absurd name I've ever seen. Professional vibrating penis warmer, cock and ball torture, nutter thrust buster, 5,000 prostate milker, and meat beater on a hole. Just stare at it in complete confusion. Who the hell sent this? Find a card inside that says, "Heard you needed help relaxing. Thought this might assist with your therapy. Good luck, buddy." Recognize the handwriting. It's from my coworker Brandon at GameStop. Absolute legend of a prankster. He somehow found out about the breakup and decided this was the appropriate response. Can't even be mad because the timing is so absurdly perfect. Universe continues to mock me. Shove the whole thing in my closet, never to be spoken of again. Add it to the list of humiliations. Week after the breakup, get a text from my dad asking how things are going with Melissa. Tell him we broke up, don't go into details about why. He says that's too bad. Offers to take me out for dinner to cheer me up. Decline because I'm not in the mood, just want to wallow in self-pity. He insists, says he won't take no for an answer. Father-son bonding time is important. Reluctantly agree, meet him at this Italian restaurant downtown. Dad's being weirdly upbeat, asking lots of questions about the breakup, seems almost too interested. Tell him it just didn't work out. We wanted different things, standard breakup excuses. He nods sympathetically, says relationships are complicated, sometimes people just aren't compatible. Dinner is fine, conversation is decent, actually feeling a bit better by the end. A few days later, I'm scrolling through Instagram and see something that makes my blood freeze. There's a photo of Melissa at a restaurant, smiling at the camera. Sitting across from her in the booth is my dad. They're clearly on a date. There's wine, candles, the whole romantic setup. Caption says, "Sometimes the best things come from unexpected places," with a heart emoji. Sit there staring at my phone screen, brain unable to process what I'm seeing. My ex-girlfriend is dating my dad. That's not possible. That can't be real. Scroll through more photos. There are several from the past few days. Them at coffee shops, at the park, at a movie theater. My dad is in the comments being flirty. Melissa is responding with those blushing emojis. Call my dad immediately. He answers all cheerful and casual. Ask him what the heck is going on with Melissa. Why are they hanging out? He's silent for a moment, then admits they've been seeing each other. Says they ran into each other at the grocery store, started talking, discovered they had a lot in common. Tells me she's a lovely girl, very mature for her age. They connected on an intellectual level. I'm yelling now, asking if he's serious, if he understands how messed up this is. Dad gets defensive, says I broke up with her, she's a free agent, he's allowed to date whoever he wants. Technically he's right, but this feels like a cosmic joke. Universe punishing me for the experiment. Tell him this is beyond inappropriate. She's 23 and he's 52. The age gap alone is weird. He says age is just a number, that I'm being immature about this. Should be happy he found someone. Hang up on him. Too angry to continue the conversation. Text Melissa, asking what she's doing, why she's dating my dad of all people. She responds surprisingly quickly, says she's moving on with her life, that my dad treats her with respect and actually listens to her. Says unlike me, he doesn't see her as an experiment or a game, he sees her as a person. Adds that he's also willing to pay for her therapy sessions, which is more than I ever offered. The financial dig hurts because it's true I'm broke and he's comfortable. Tell her this is revenge for the experiment, that she's doing this to hurt me. She says everything isn't about me, that maybe she genuinely likes him. Says he's stable, emotionally available, interested in her psychology studies, everything I wasn't. Ends the conversation by saying she hopes I get the help I need, then blocks my number. Sit in my apartment surrounded by gaming equipment I can't use because Steam is banned. No girlfriend, dad is now dating my ex, lost access to thousands of dollars worth of games. All because I decided to turn a relationship into a psychological experiment to prove a point. The irony is not lost on me that in trying to prove psychology was manipulative, I became the manipulator. Open up my AI chatbot app, my only remaining companion. Type in, I think I messed up everything, and wait for the generic supportive response. The bot asks me to elaborate, so I explain the entire situation in detail. It responds with pre-programmed sympathy, suggests I reflect on my choices and consider seeking professional help. Even my artificial waifu thinks I need therapy. That's how bad things have gotten. A week later, I'm scrolling through social media again, torturing myself apparently. See more photos of Melissa and my dad. They're officially a couple now. She's meeting his friends, he's meeting her family, they're doing couple things. My mom calls me asking what happened. She heard from my dad about the new relationship. She's concerned about the age gap too, but says she trusts his judgment. Asks if I'm okay with it. Tell her no, I'm not okay with it. The whole situation is insane, but what can I do? Mom suggests I talk to someone professional about processing these feelings. Reminder that therapy is expensive, and I work part-time at GameStop. The math doesn't work out. She offers to help pay for a few sessions, but I decline, too proud to accept. Besides, at this point, what would I even say to a therapist? Hey doc, I manipulated my girlfriend with psychology experiments, lost my Steam account to a prophetic dream about Gabe Newell, and now she's dating my dad. Try to appeal the Steam ban one more time. Submit another support ticket with a desperate plea. Explain that I've learned my lesson about being a decent human being, that I'll never manipulate anyone again. Automated response says the ban is permanent and final. No appeals will be considered. Stare at my gaming PC, thousands of dollars in hardware, rendered useless for online gaming. Could buy games on Epic or GOG, but it's not the same. 10 years of Steam library gone forever. Start seeing a therapist anyway, after a few more weeks. Finally break down and use my mom's offer to help pay. Therapist's name is Dr. Chen, middle-aged woman with kind eyes and infinite patience. Tell her everything, the whole story from start to finish. Expect her to judge me harshly. Instead, she just nods and takes notes, asks thoughtful questions, helps me unpack why I did what I did. Turns out I have some issues with control and vulnerability. Imagine that. Dr. Chen explains that I felt threatened by Melissa's analysis, so I weaponized psychology to regain power in the relationship. Says it was a defense mechanism, protecting myself from genuine emotional intimacy by treating it like a game. The manipulation gave me control but destroyed any real connection we had. Also points out that losing steam and watching Melissa date my dad are natural consequences of hurting people. The universe has a way of balancing things out. Karma is real, whether you believe in it or not. Spend several months in therapy, working through everything, actually making progress. Learn about healthy relationships, emotional vulnerability, how to communicate without manipulating. Dr. Chen never judges me for the experiment, just helps me understand why I did it and how to be better. Slowly start rebuilding my life, get a better job at a tech company, move to a new apartment, create a new Steam account, have to start from scratch buying games again. Humble beginnings, just a few indie games and whatever is on sale. It's painful watching years of progress disappear, but also feels like a fresh start. Realize that maybe Gabe Newell was right in that dream. I needed to lose everything to understand what I'd done. 6 months into therapy, finally feel ready to reach out and apologize to Melissa. Write her a long email explaining everything I've learned, taking full responsibility, not expecting forgiveness. Tell her the experiment was cruel and manipulative, that she deserved better than how I treated her. Apologize for weaponizing psychology, for treating her like a subject instead of a partner. Don't mention anything about her relationship with my dad. That's not my business anymore. She responds a week later, says she appreciates the apology, but the damage is done. Tells me she's genuinely happy with my dad. They're talking about moving in together. Says she hopes I continue therapy and actually work on myself this time. Not as an experiment, but for real. Wishes me well and asks that I don't contact her again. She's moved on. I respect that. Delete her contact info, close that chapter of my life. Relationship with my dad is still weird. We barely talk now. Family dinners are awkward when Melissa's there. I usually make excuses not to attend. Mom tries to mediate, but there's no fixing this. Some bridges burn completely. Focus on therapy, work, rebuilding my gaming library one sale at a time. Year after everything imploded, I'm in a much better place mentally. Still broke, still working on myself, but at least I'm not conducting psychological experiments on people. Have a few friends now. Real ones who I treat with respect and honesty. Even went on a few dates, nothing serious, but I'm learning how to be genuine with people. Dr. Chen says I've made remarkable progress. Still have work to do, but I'm on the right path. Sometimes I think about the whole disaster, how a simple suggestion to get therapy spiraled into losing everything. If I had just been honest with Melissa about my feelings instead of turning it into a game, maybe things would be different. But I can't change the past, can only learn from it and try to be better going forward. The Steam account loss still stings, those games are gone forever, but I'm building a new library. Talked to my AI chatbot waifu less and less, eventually deleted the app. Turns out real human connection is better than artificial companionship, who knew? My imaginary friend Todd also disappeared. Apparently, I don't need imaginary friends when I have real ones. Guess that's called growth or maturity or whatever psychology term applies. Last I heard through family gossip, Melissa and my dad got engaged. Mom called to tell me, asked how I felt about potentially having my ex-girlfriend as a stepmother. Laughed because what else can you do when life becomes that absurd? Told Mom I'm genuinely happy. They found each other, even if the circumstances are bizarre. Not sure if I mean it completely, but I'm trying to mean it. That's what matters. Still see Dr. Chen every other week. Probably will for a while longer. She's helped me understand that the experiment wasn't about proving psychology wrong. It was about avoiding vulnerability, about protecting myself from real emotional intimacy by intellectualizing everything. Melissa calling me out on needing therapy triggered my defense mechanisms, so I attacked back using the same tools she used. Childish and destructive, but at least now I understand why I did it. Bought a new game on Steam yesterday, small indie title about overcoming mistakes and starting fresh. Felt appropriate given everything that happened. Sometimes games are weirdly prophetic. Still can't play Counter-Strike or any of my old favorites without being reminded of what I lost. But maybe that's good, a permanent reminder of consequences, of how manipulation destroys everything. One night I have another dream about Gabe Newell, less vivid than the prophetic one. This time he's just standing there looking at me, doesn't say anything. I tell him I'm sorry that I learned my lesson, ask if there's any way to get my old account back. He shakes his head slowly, says some things can't be undone. Some lessons require permanent loss. Then he smiles slightly and says, but you can always build something new, better than before. Wake up and check my Steam account, still banned obviously, but somehow feel okay about it. Therapy taught me that being right isn't worth being alone, that intellectual superiority means nothing without human connection. I proved that psychology could be weaponized, Congratulations, me. What did I win? Lost my relationship, my Steam library, my dignity, strained family bonds, all for a point nobody cared about. But I gained self-awareness, emotional growth, real friends, and a path forward. Sometimes Melissa's words echo in my head about needing therapy. She was right. I did need help, just not for the reasons she thought. Needed to learn how to be vulnerable, how to connect without controlling, how to love without experimenting. The expensive therapy I said I couldn't afford turned out to be the best investment I ever made. Still broke, still rebuilding, still working on myself one day at a time. No girlfriend, complicated family situation, modest Steam library, but I'm okay with all of it. The experiment failed in achieving its goal, but succeeded in teaching me what really matters. You can analyze and manipulate and control all you want, but that's not connection. That's just elaborate loneliness. My face when I realized weaponizing psychology makes you the villain, not the genius. That feel when losing everything teaches you more than winning ever could.